Welcome back here on the Good Morning Artesia Radio Show. Barking Guy, I found it. Let me play the Dragnet Open here for folks. So that this is from the TV show.
Okay.
All right.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And, of course, when they say the story you're about to see is true, that would have been for the TV series.
Yes.
For the radio series, I'm sure it was
Here,
H-E-A-R. Harry Morgan was in that. He was the assistant. He was the partner of Joe Friday. Of course, Harry Morgan was in a lot of movies and stuff like that. He went on, kind of finished his career with the Colonel Potter on MASH, the TV series on MASH. And then, of course, there was a movie that they did of Dragnet starring Dan Aykroyd and I think Tom Hanks. And I'm not sure how Jack Webb, if he was around when that movie came out, what he would have thought of that. I don't know if you ever saw the movie.
not that one.
Let's see.
Saw the 1966 movie.
Yes. 1987 was the year the movie came out, and Dan Aykroyd played Friday, and Tom Hanks played Strebeck. Christopher Plummer was in it. Harry Morgan had a appearance in it as Gannon in the TV movie. Jack O'Halloran was in it. Dabney Coleman, you remember Dabney Coleman? He was in the TV movie as, Peter Aykroyd was in the movie. It only had a 6.0 rating. And let me see if there were any thoughts from Jack Webb. Yeah, it doesn't. The photograph of Captain Gannon's wife behind his desk is the same photograph as Colonel Potter's wife from MASH. Both parts were played by Harry Morgan. So, anyway, the famous catchphrase, "just the facts, ma'am," was never actually said by Jack Webb.
Nope.
It was said by comedian Stan Freberg.
Yep.
You knew that.
I knew that.
You knew that, yeah. So, in real life, Dan Aykroyd is a huge fan of Jack Webb, the original Joe Friday. And so, anyway, let's continue on with where we were. You were looking back at birthdays from this week and related to radio stars. Of course, Dragnet, the radio series, was from 1951.
Yes.
And then it was later converted into a TV series in 1967. So, all right, where were you?
Yep, we have one more.
Okay.
April the 3rd, Doris Day.
Oh, we could go on and on about Doris Day, couldn't we?
And she was born in 1924.
1924, okay. Has she passed on? I think she finally did.
Yep. I know about Que Sera Sera.
That's right. She passed away in 2019. So she was 97 years old when she passed away. So not that long ago when she passed away.
Yep. I got some radio quotes.
All right, let's do the radio quotes. Da-da-da-da.
They're tired of it, and they're going to vote massively against it in November.
Trying to think who we had on the radio last week. Clay and Buck.
No, that was Hugh Hewitt.
Hugh Hewitt said that. Okay.
About voters and the leftist agenda.
Well, it's good for Hugh to observe that.
I think they care more about their power and control.
Clay and Buck.
Greg Zanetti.
Greg Zanetti. Hey.
About the leftist and the environment.
He said that on this show.
On this show.
That's right. That was what? Last week. Well, whatever day it was.
Thursday, I believe.
Thursday. Okay.
When Joe Biden comes for our guns, we just have to put him upstairs.
Aaron Irving?
Yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
That was one of his jokes.
Yep.
I laughed at that. That was funny.
I did too.
That's why I made your quote of the week.
Yep. and have to get access to a pen and pencil to write it, pen and paper to write it down.
There you go. There you go.
And
We'll just put them
remember it.
upstairs.
Yep. and here's the calendar for this week.
All right.
Today, Monday the 28th, school resumes both Artesia and Lake Arthur.
Okay.
Tuesday the 29th, JV baseball at Hobbs, 4:30 and 6:30. JVA softball at Hobbs, 4:30 and 6:30. Varsity baseball, 4:30 and 6:30. Tennis versus Portales, 3 o'clock. And the baseball will be on the radio.
That's right. Talking about from Hobbs?
Yep.
Now, I'm going to send a camera with them. So we'll try to put it on the internets, too, on the video.
Good.
Yeah, we're going to try.
Well, but I'm going to listen.
That's right.
I'm going to listen to that one.
Yep.
Thursday 31st, junior high track meet at Carlsbad, 3 o'clock. JV softball versus Carlsbad, 4:30. And the varsity's at 6:30 versus you know who, Carlsbad.
And that'll be on the radio and the TV.
Yep. Varsity golf at Goddard, 9 a.m. Friday the 1st, JV golf tournament at Hobbs. Tennis at Hobbs tournament, 8 a.m. And that's through Saturday. It's a 2-day event.
Okay.
And varsity track at Gene Wells Relays. That's in Hobbs, 3 o'clock. And Saturday the 2nd, varsity softball versus Gallup. And there's a time change. It used to be 11-1. It's 1-3.
1-3, yep.
And that's when the nightcap isn't at night.
That's true. Let's see. You said that's on the 2nd, right?
Yes.
Yep. And they've...
The ranch has their meeting that day.
Right.
But at 11 o'clock, I would have left the meeting, when it ended.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the probably the last part of the opener, and then the nightcap. But
Yeah.
when they start at 1, I should be able to see the whole thing.
Yeah, because the nightcap's not at night.
No, the nightcap isn't at night, but it's going to be pretty hot.
That's true.
I remember one time I was in watching a baseball game,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a doubleheader on Saturday.
Right.
The nightcap was like 100 degrees out there. It was really hot.
I think one of the interesting baseball doubleheaders would have been back in the day, Barking Guy Tucumcari was in our district.
Okay,
And I don't know if you've ever been to Tucumcari.
I have.
I've been to a baseball game at Tucumcari. And one year, Jim Wilburn went to a baseball doubleheader at Tucumcari. And Bulldogs would get up by 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 runs. But it wasn't the 5th inning. And so Coach Bohannon was coaching at the time. So he'd put in everybody on the bench, right?
Yeah.
And then Tucumcari would come back and get it within 10 runs. And then he'd have to put the starters back in, and we'd build it back up again. And then he'd put he'd make one more set of substitutions, and then Tucumcari would come back. And I think one of those, I think that was a 7-hour doubleheader. I mean, took forever to play those two games. And poor Jim sitting up there basically by himself trying to make it sound interesting on the radio. And I remember him saying, I wonder if anybody's even listening to this. He was a little irritated with Coach Bohannon. And I said, well, I'm listening. I was one, and Ronnie Null was the other. So there were two of us that were still listening at the end of that 6.5, 7-hour doubleheader in Tucumcari, New Mexico.
When did it start?
Oh, gosh, it may have been like a 11 o'clock start or a 1 o'clock start. And, I mean, it was going till, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night because they had to get it done because they didn't have any lights at this field that they played at the time. So anyway, that was a long time ago, back in the day of Artesia Bulldog baseball history. So
Yep.
I have to look back through the records. Ronnie probably knows. Ronnie probably knows exactly the date. He knows exactly the time, and he can probably remember the score.
Yep. That nightcap wasn't night because there was no lights.
That's right. That's right. They had to get it done and get it over with. So anyway, that was a little nugget of memory that trickled out when you mentioned that.
Yeah. But I just remember that one in baseball that was like 100 degrees.
Yep. Yep. Well, as long as I'm not in the sun. I mean, we did that playoff game over in Santa Teresa this spring. Last spring, you remember when they had
Yes, I remember
the
that.
May-June baseball season, and Joby and I went over and they were watering the soccer field, which was behind the baseball field, and they were using that non-potable water. That had a lovely smell.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, where are we next to on the report?
Well, we got it done, but Monday is the band pre-contest concert, 7 a.m. at the auditorium.
7 a.m.
7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
PM.
Okay.
PM.
When is that coming up?
That's on Monday, the 4th.
Monday the 4th.
Yeah, 7 p.m.
Okay. Well, it's not on this calendar. That's interesting. April 4th?
Yep, that's what I have.
Yeah. Well, you're probably right. I'm just saying it's not on the Artesia Public Schools calendar.
Yeah. Well, they may have changed it.
That's right. We'll have to find out. Of course, they're just back from Disney, their trip to Disneyland or Disney World. Where'd they go?
They went to Disneyland.
Which is in California. Okay, they went out to Los Angeles. Well, they're not. That's not.
Yeah, and that's where Jack Webb, was and Joe Friday.
That's right. That's right.
It's in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles, that's where they. I was reading about that, where he, he's doing the movie, and he brought in a LAPD officer as a consultant, and the officer was telling Jack Webb about all these cases, and he was so intrigued by that he developed the radio show based on that information, which was based on actual cases done handled by the Los Angeles Police Department, and then that later got evolved and turned into the TV show.
And it was interesting. These cases were interesting.
Yeah. I wonder how many people wondered if, when they got arrested, if they thought, great, this will be on Dragnet next week.
I don't know.
It's like nowadays, if you're any kind of celebrity and you make a call to 911, your first question is, great, this will be on TMZ, So that's good. Hey, did you see Jim Townsend's letter that went out to his constituents? Did you get one of these?
Not yet.
Are you in his district?
I was in his district.
Okay.
But the new districts, I'm not in this district.
So you would not have gotten this. Redistricting occurred in December. Some of you may be hearing from me for the first time. Oh, Kith and Ken is here. Oh,
Yep,
that's
our foodie sponsor.
heavy box. Did they say what kind of coffee it was today, Tam? No? They were busy. Well, that's because of all that advertising they do. All right. Oh, I can smell it. Can you smell it? All right. Let's look in the box and see what's in here. Da 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 da. Oh, we've got, and here's the legends right here. Look at these sandwiches. Can you smell that?
Yes.
We've got hoagie, ham, and cheddar. That's here. That's on the hoagie.
Yep.
You can kind of see that right there.
Yep.
We've got the chili cheddar. Well, and sausage, bagel. Okay, so it's a bacon chili cheddar bagel with sausage.
Mhm.
And American cheese. We have the green chili cheese bagel, sausage and jack, and then we have the ciabatta, bacon, and cheddar sandwich. Look at these sandwiches, Barking Guy. I'm going to take a picture so we can put these up on the internets. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, let's see here.
Mm.
I got to have half of one of the sausage ones, Barking Guy, just so you know. I don't want to fight.
We never fight.
No, we never fight. Oh, my gosh. Look
Right.
at those, Barking Guy. Look at that. This is from Kith and Kin, folks. And I'm going to close the box up here so I don't let all the goodness out. Oh, my gosh. You know, you go to the chain places, and sometimes they get smaller. The portions get smaller for the same price, or the price goes up to maintain the same thing. I'm sure they've had some price adjustments at Kith and Kin, but they haven't skimped on the portions, have they?
No, they haven't.
I mean, those are shareables.
Yeah, you cut them in half, and you can.
Yeah, you can share that with whoever you're sharing your breakfast with. Oh my gosh, these are wonderful. Sandwich. Sandwich. I gave it a file name of sandwich. So, oh my gosh. So if you're looking for a really gourmet breakfast sandwich, a true breakfast experience,
Yep.
go to Kith and Kin
Yep.
in downtown Artesia. So again, our choices here for our guests, we have bacon chili cheddar bagel, sausage and American, green chili cheddar bagel, sausage and jack. Then we've got, no, it's green chili cheddar bagel. All right, bacon, green chili cheddar bagel. Okay, these are both the green chili cheddar bagels, sausage and American, sausage and jack. And then we've got the hoagie, ham and cheddar. And then we have the ciabatta bacon and cheddar. So we've got sausage, we've got bacon, we've got ham, we've got bagels, we've got hoagies, we've got ciabatta bread. I mean, you can mix and match and have your favorite. Do you have a favorite at Kith and Kin, or just you're always pleased with whatever's there?
I'm always pleased with whatever's there.
Yeah.
I do like their coffee. I used to, for lunch, get the dog pile.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Pretty good, huh?
Yes.
So what was the dog pile, or what is the dog pile?
Well, it had roast beef in it, and
got
they
you.
had different vegetables and and cheeses.
Mm-hmm. Kind of reminds me, there was a restaurant we used to go to in Albuquerque that had the pile up, which was eggs and ham and hash browns and cheese and all that kind of stuff all mashed together. But I'll have to check that out. All right. Was there anything else on your list that we needed to cover today, Barking Guy?
No, but you were doing.
Oh, we're talking about Jim Townsend's letter.
Jim Townsend's letter.
Yeah. Well, he said after redistricting, some may be hearing from him for the first time. Then he highlights some of the things that the Republicans tried to do or were successful at doing, or at least had some limited success. Together we stopped the Racist Diversity Act. Together we prevented a massive gas tax via the Clean Fuels Act. We halted the George Soros Steal the Vote Act.
Yep.
We defeated unconstitutional gun control legislation. We forced Democrats to end the double tax on Social Security. And we led the effort to get tough on crime instead of Democrat-led effort to be soft on criminals. It's kind of like the Supreme Court nominee that Joe Biden put forth.
Yeah.
One of the criminals that she did light sentencing on came out and said, "Hey, thanks for the light sentence." He got like 3 months when he should have got something else. I don't understand judges. I don't care if it's her or any judge. I don't understand judges that look at certain types of crimes and just give the absolute minimum sentence. I don't know. I'm going back to the letter here from Mr. Townsend. Together we fought for military retirement tax cuts and improved the tax bill with hundreds of millions in additional tax breaks for working New Mexico families suffering from Bidenflation. That's the new name for it now. Bidenflation.
Yeah, I like it
Yeah.
because it is.
Yeah.
It's true.
It is true. Here you go. You can, since you may not be in his district anymore, you can read that if you like and take a picture of that. Jim's one of those guys fighting the good fight up there in Santa Fe. When's that special session? Is that going on today?
I'm not sure.
Or is that next week? I think it's next week.
Yeah. 'Cause if it was going on today, I would have known about it with Pinion Post.
Yeah, I think it's next week is when she's having it. I wouldn't rest on the election reform just yet. That may be something she tries to sneak into the special session, you know.
Probably.
And because, you know, they're still trying to get ballot harvesting and, you know, I don't understand. Here's the one argument I've never understood. I mean, I can understand why people have philosophical differences on different things. Economics, environment, so forth. I can understand. But the one I've never understood, I have never, ever, ever understood this, and I will never understand this, barking guy. How in 2022, how is requiring somebody to show identification before they vote racist? I don't understand. I've never understood the argument against voter ID. Do you know what the argument is against it? Or do you understand it?
Not really, because you have to show an ID to get on an airplane. You have to show an ID to buy alcohol, to buy cigarettes.
Certain medications?
Yep. Cigar Dave has to show his ID to purchase his cigars.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never understood the argument. It's not a poll tax, which I understand completely, being unconstitutional. It's not a test. You know,
not a literacy test.
It's not a literacy test, although that might be helpful in some cases. No one is going to be able to convince me otherwise that voter ID is a bad thing. The voter ID should be required. There shouldn't be any question about it. Your vote is your vote. It's sacred to you. You should be able to be assured that the only person that has access to your ballot is you. So I've never had. That's one of those things. You know, I think people that make environmental cases can be crazy sometimes. I think some of the other issues of the society, you can have discussions. There can people that can try to present a different point of view for you to consider, but there's nothing about voter ID opposing it that I can understand, that I can even see the other side or understand what the other side is. There's nothing about that. That should be one of the no-brainer, non-controversial, 100% understood things that you have to prove you are who you are before you get your ballot. I don't understand it, barking guy. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
I think they want to ballot harvest. They want to have dead people vote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's been going on in Chicago for years.
Well, that's the joke, but I think there's parts of New Mexico where people continue to vote. And we've heard the jokes, but
what about 2018? You know, with Socio the Socialist.
Yeah. No, I mean, we can have debates and discussions about early voting. We can have debates and discussions about paper ballots versus electronic ballots. I mean, we can have those discussions. And at some point in time, I think we're going to settle on, a compromise, if you will, of access and all this kind of stuff. But I don't understand the argument against showing an ID to vote. No one is going to be able to convince me otherwise that that's not a good thing.
Well, you got to show an ID for everything else.
Yeah. I won't try it because I don't want to be thrown in jail. But if people just said, "No, I'm not showing you my ID to get on this airplane. You don't need to know my ID."
Then you don't get on the airplane.
Yeah, but I don't have to show my ID to vote. Why should I show my ID to get on the airplane? But nobody wants to do that protest because most people that are trying to get on a plane are trying to get somewhere and they don't want to, wind up in a airport jail somewhere.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff.
Or if they don't want to show an ID, they drive or do something else.
Yeah. But I don't know, barking guy. Nobody's going to be able to convince me that showing an ID before you vote is a bad thing. There's nothing that anyone can say that can convince me otherwise.
And if you drive, sometimes you go through a checkpoint. Then you got to show your driver's license and your registration and all that.
Yeah. Well, there's been legal arguments by people that have claimed to make that it's a bad thing to do the checkpoints, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about your right to vote.
Well, I think you should show an ID.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. If it were up to me, and it's not, but if it were up to me, Election Day would be Election Day. There wouldn't be any early voting other than via absentee. And if we had to expand the number of polling places and expand the hours, then that's what we would do. But Election Day is Election Day, and I'd even go so far as to say it ought to be a national holiday.
Yeah.
And that way people have the day off. What are you going to do today? Well, let's go vote, But it's not up to me, obviously, and there's a lot of people that have taken advantage of and have been benefited from early voting. Okay, well, let's have a week of early voting. And not 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of early voting. Let's have a week of early voting,
Yeah. Well, early voting I like because I can combine something like art in a park and early voting.
Mm-hmm.
We had Feed Artesia. We had the Balloons and Tunes.
Yep.
We've had these things. We've had things in Carlsbad. We have things in Roswell.
Yeah.
That you can go to in conjunction with voting.
But let me ask you this question, though. Has there been an analysis done of the data to indicate whether or not early voting has actually benefited in increasing voter turnout? Look at how many turned out for the city election,
Yeah, the city elections are always low turnout anyway.
That's right.
And we bend over backwards to get people to vote.
That's
and
right.
They don't.
That's right.
They need to.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Isn't there an old adage that if you don't vote, you can't complain?
Yes, and we tell people that prior to the election, and then look at the turnout. It's
Yep. And I get on here all the time about voting.
Yeah.
And I say vote.
That's right. Oh, no, we encourage it. We strongly encourage people to vote. My point is there any statistical evidence to indicate that having early voting for 2, 3, 4, 5, 18, 27 weeks, well, I'm exaggerating, of course, has done anything to overall increase the amount of voter turnout? I doubt, seriously, I think the people that are going to vote, I had this discussion one time with Glenn Collier when he was county commissioner. We had this discussion.
Oh, I remember.
And, because he was real proud of the fact that the Eddy County had gone ahead and established some early voting and was going forward down that path. And I said, I don't know that if the goal is to increase access so that you increase the amount of turnout, I don't know that it actually accomplishes that. I think if you're going to vote, then you're either going to vote early, like you do, combine it with other things that you're doing, or not. But I don't know that the average person out there that doesn't vote, has never really been motivated to vote, has decided never, they don't have time to vote. Look, we've got 3 weeks of early voting or 2 weeks of early voting, whatever it is. How come you didn't vote? You can't say you didn't have an opportunity vote because, like you say, we bend over backwards to create opportunities for people to be able to vote. Shoot, we don't even ask you to prove who you are.
And we have all these convenience centers.
Exactly.
We have like 13 of them in Eddy County.
Yeah.
I think Chavis has like 12.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the election. The municipal election, we only had 2
Yeah.
in Artesia,
Yeah.
and I think Roswell had like 6 instead of the normal number
Yeah.
that they might have. And see, that led to a little bit of confusion. You had people showing up at City Hall and some other places to vote that they normally would go to on a normal general election, and they had to get sent to the senior center or Faith Baptist. So maybe we have 4 or 6 convenience stations, but it's the same number of convenience stations in the same location of convenience stations each time, whether it's a city, county, state, municipal, federal, whatever. Maybe that's something that we could all agree on for the early voting and for the voting precincts. But that way it's less confusing for people. But again, I contend the people that are going to vote, the people that are informed, the people that pay attention, the people that want to vote, they're going to figure out how to vote, whether it's on election day or absentee or at the early voting. And that the people that generally are uninterested and don't really care and don't plan on voting and don't generally vote, you're going to have to take them to the polling place, parking guy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to round them up and say, let's go vote, to get some of these people to go to the polls. I don't know. I think the quality of the candidates, I think the concerns that people have over the issues of the day has a lot of influence on whether or not people vote. And then whether or not you can ballot harvest, that has a big impact. So anyway, is there anything else in your report we need to cover?
We got it all.
We got it all in. You're just chomping at the bit to get into this box of sandwiches, aren't you? All right, let's go ahead and
go Dogs. Arf!
All right, we'll be back.
The Sock Hop is